Hello, and welcome to another amazing episode of our podcast. Today, we have a very interesting guest joining us. We have Gianine Strang, and she is a professional dancer and a proud founder of movement medicine. And oh my gosh, even just in that sentence, there's so much for us to unpack. And I can't wait to learn more about what she does with movement and medicine and how she helps people because what she stands for is reclaiming your power. And she just helps people to guide them and support them through any kind of challenges. But I know that I never do really proper justice to introductions. I always love the guests to introduce themselves and tell us in their words, what led them on this path that they're at and who they are, what they do, what they're passionate about. So that's what I'm going to do now. Hi, Janine. Please tell us a bit more about yourself.
Hello, thank you so much for having me, first of all. So, my name is Janine, and I am indeed the founder of Movement Medicine and a professional dancer as well. So, I really started this journey of like growing this business a little while ago, actually, already 4 years ago. I can't believe it. And I really noticed that there was a huge gap happening in my life. Like, I've always danced and I absolutely love dance. I still do it professionally as well. But I kind of missed like the whole healing part of it because it can be so healing because it is just moving your body and therefore it's also moving energy. So I decided to like study a bunch of different things and really combine the part of like movement and also like more of the science behind it, but also like how I actually can support people with that, how I can support people with like releasing certain things out of their body, and yeah, in the end reclaiming their power, because that's something that I really 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 believe in.
Well, I'd love to talk a bit more about this reclaiming our power. Like, why do you think, or maybe we can start, why did you really feel yourself that you needed to reclaim your power? Where along the way you felt like maybe you've lost a little bit of your power. And obviously, with you being a dancer, I guess it was very natural to lean into the movement and see if you can find a power in there. But then how it led to helping other people to reclaim their power? How is that connection happen for you?
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good question. And also one of my favorite questions, actually, because I also never used the term, and maybe it's like a mind thing, but I never used the term that I lost my power. Because in the end, it's something that you allow to happen, right? So we give our power away like a lot of the times, really a lot of the times, and we don't even realize it, right? So when I really start to realize that, I was like, oh yeah, and what now? So what I did then is I gave some more away and I gave some more away. So I felt completely lost. And I was like, how do I get this back? What can I do in order to get this back? And when I found the tools, I was like, I need to actually support people with this, because if I can do it, other people can do it as well, right? Like there's no better example than me in that case. And that is the place that I also like to support others. Did that answer your question a bit?
There's no right or wrong in answering these questions. Whatever comes, comes, whatever it's coming, whatever you feel inspired to say, you're gonna say that. But yeah, I like how you reframed my question in a way that, you didn't lost your power. No one has, stolen away your power, that it is us, that we are the ones that we are handing away our power, that we are making decisions that bit by bit we then realized we have lost our power. So I would love to then start going on the path of, okay, it's time to reclaim it. You got to a point of realizing, bit by bit, you have been giving away this power. How did then this process of reclaiming and reconnecting back to the movement started happening for you? Obviously you're a dancer, you move your body all the time. So it's not something that would be uncommon for you to do that. But where was maybe the realization that, oh, I can use this to reclaim my power star? What were maybe some of the, first light bulbs for you? And maybe some of the practices that you started implementing and exploring and having fun with to then again realize that, oh, my power's coming back, like I'm reclaiming it. And I I don't think we ever can say that we're fully reclaimed and we own 100%. Maybe yes. I'm more than happy to have a discussion about this, but I feel it's an ongoing process. I would love to just start going through this process with you, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, of course. So to give you a little background story, in my third year of art school, I we always have to do an internship. So you get to work with like different dance companies. And I did audition for my dream company, which was actually based in the UK. So I lived in the UK and I was so excited and I was so ready for this. And then as soon as I signed my contract, things were a bit different than I expected. So we as the dancers were treated very, very poorly. And after 2 weeks, I had my first panic attack, something that I never ever experienced before. And I started to get all these injuries. I was very unhappy. I was so tired. I really lost all my joy in dance, but I also, and it sounds like very serious, but I also lost joy in life because I was just too tired to do anything. I was like working 7 days a week in a country that I didn't know and I had no one around me. And then the place that you know and that is your work is horrible. So I decided to come back after 6 months. And then I thought, okay, things will be better. It will be better now because I'm back home. Like all things are good. And that is actually where the real healing process happened, right? So I still had the panic attacks. And they were just there constantly. So if I ordered food, I would stand in front of the window to see the delivery guy come because I couldn't miss it. Because if I missed him, I wasn't perfect or I wasn't doing a great job. Because that was the thing that I constantly heard in my internship. So then I started to look for someone who could actually help me and support me. But I wanted someone to and fully understood the dance world, because people often think they do, but it's different when you're in it. And people who actually had the certifications and everything to help me. And I couldn't really find that person. So I decided, as stubborn as I am, to become that person for myself. So I did a coaching certification. I did the emotion and body code, some energy healing. So I really started to heal on myself and my own journey. And that really made me realize that like my example is a bit big, like obviously, but it also made me realize like how easy it is to give your power away. It already happens with a headache, right? Why do you completely like immediately take a paracetamol? Like I have nothing against Western medicine or anything like that, but instead of like just taking it and suppressing it, maybe see, okay, why do I have this headache? Like, am I stressed? Is my neck muscles a bit tensed, or like what is happening? So as soon as I really started to realize that, I really had to reclaim my power, but also reclaim my love for dance because I was still scared to dance. And that was a journey that was not always that pretty. But it was with baby steps. And for me, the beauty is really to see that, of course, I work with dancers, but most of the people that I do work with and do support are actually not dancers at all. Um, they are just people that are ready to reclaim their power. That's all you need to do to be ready.
And I would just love to, say that dance is magical. That there is something about, yes, moving our body in general, and there's so many different ways we can move our body. It doesn't have to be exercise. It doesn't have to be going to the gym or going to yoga class. There is so many different ways of even just walking and running and swimming and all sorts of things. But there is something very special about dance, and there's so many different variety of dance. But I would love to just have a little bit of a chat about like the power and the magic and the beauty of dance. Like, what is dance to you? What is the magic of dance for you?
I think that's such a beautiful question. Um, I think for me, my answer as a dancer would be that it has just the ability to shift certain things, right? In your conscious mind, but also in your subconscious mind, but also in your energy field. And I think I always, in my business, I actually never call it dance. I always call it movement because I don't want to scare people off. And I think also because it is not an aesthetic dance what we do, right? So it's like not professional dance, it's not dance classes, it's not ecstatic dance, it's really moving your body and moving the energy. And because it's just moving energy, it is literally magic, right? Because you can't really see it, you can feel it, but it's just like you trying to massage your body in different ways and really release stuff in that way. And I always want to take the pressure off that you have to dance or have to perform a certain way, right? So I think that.
And I love that you said removing the performance because right now in the world we live in, we are so driven by perfection and performance and outcomes and measuring everything and going to the gym and counting the reps and counting the sets we do. And even when we go to things like yoga, we still are looking at the perfection of the pose and what is doing for us. And even when we go and meditate, it's still like, have we been fully present? Have we done meditation right? I really like that you're already giving us this permission of just work on almost detachment from the outcome and being present and enjoying the experience. And because it's a massive lesson for all of us that can not only be attached to this movement, but we can replicate it in so many other aspects of our lives.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I always say, like, you can't get life wrong. There's no way, absolutely no way you can do life wrong. So that always helps. It helps for me. It helps for my clients as well. And once you start the embodiment, it's like, oh yeah, then it's fine. Like whatever I do is exactly what I need to do. And that's perfectly fine as well.
Well, we're talking about embodiment, and obviously working with the body is a big part of what you do. It's a big part of the healing journey that you went on and you help people with. And in your bio, you have a sentence that really touched me that says that every experience, every trauma, and every joy we encounter leaves a mark on our body. It's like a silent witness that our bodies can store all these stories and energies, and then they often manifest as discomfort, as disease, when we don't deal with that. And it's just so beautifully said, describing how things can really be stuck in our bodies. So
Hmm.
can we look at, we talked about a bit of anxiety, panic attacks. How have you then learned to use movement to overcome things that are mental, that are emotional, that are not physical, like physical pain, yes, but there's so much going on in our minds, in our hearts, in our souls. So then how do you use movement? Do you have any techniques or exercises? I don't mean like a workout exercise, but I mean little tactics that maybe you would go with your clients to explore and experiment with, to reconnect with the body and find ways to remove this ease away from the body to then heal the whole person.
I think that's also such a great question with many different answers. Because there's no one thing or one practice that suits all, right? Because everybody is different and therefore everybody has different needs. But I think the main thing is just like if you look at the body from a place of like, okay, it is just a what do you call it in English? If you look at the body as just an object, let's just give another example. If you look at the body as just an object, right? And you look at emotions as like little balls of energies. Like if the body is just an empty object and we have all these balls of energies inside our body, at a certain point, they're gonna pile up and pile up and pile up. And that is gonna leave dis-ease in the body. So it can be that you have shoulder pain, it can be that you have hip pain, back pain, or you just feel like stiff, or you get acne, or like You get panic attacks, like all these things, right? Because you have to clean that out. Same as if you don't brush your teeth. I always give word examples, so bear with me. But if you don't brush your teeth, all the dirt is going to build up, build up, build up. And then what happens then? You get a toothache, right? So it's actually the same with the body, and we have to clean that up. And a good way to do that is actually through movement. Because by moving it, you're also moving the little balls of energy out your body again, right? And it can be in the form of just like, I don't know, having circular motion. It can be in the form of shaking. It can be in the form of really embodying that emotion. So it can be anger, it can be sadness, it can be anything. But the only thing you have to do is be open to it.
Your examples are really brilliant, because the majority of people, I'm not going to say everyone, but the majority of people do brush their teeth. And as you said, it's something that you start doing as a child and bring it in. But we don't talk about movement so much. It's not something that's as a habit as brushing our teeth. And I just wanted to go a little bit back on what you were saying, your experience in the UK when you did that internship, and how you went with that anticipation and that excitement of a new adventure, and how easy it is to be in a place where you lose, as you said, you lost your power through circumstances, through being in a place on your own, vulnerable, not knowing anybody, different culture, different language, different foods, different weather, everything is different. And of course, when you don't have that network behind you to have that place where you could, if you were back at home, you could maybe go home to your parents or go home to friends, or unwind and vent or just say something, and somebody might say, well, actually, no, try this, do this. But when you are in that place to where you don't necessarily do it, it is then, I say easy, but it's not easy as in it's really easy to do, but it's easy as it's simple to give your power away, because you in that place where you wanting to do something that you want to do. You danced, you're passionate about dance, you were looking forward to this experience. And for anybody who has looked forward to something or had a new adventure, gone, taken a new job or moved city or moved country or whatever it is, there's that looking forward to it. And then when that doesn't happen, through circumstances, through whatever it is, and in your case is most probably not ideal dance instructors or lecturers or people who had your best interest. They didn't look after your best interest when it was their role to do that. And I just wanted to bring that up, because I think, like you said, you don't notice it in that moment. You don't notice that you giving away your power. That, and for our listeners, are they in that place where they're not noticing that you just giving it away? And sometimes it can be in huge chunks, and sometimes it's like a little bit, peck, 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 and next minute it's like, what's happened? But I also wanted to mention that the courage that you, after 6 months, went back home. There's very much that, yeah, but if I stop doing it, or if I go back home, or if I look for another job, I've failed. I've not succeeded at this, and therefore I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough. All these things can come into our heads. But sometimes, and in your case, you needed to go back home because that was familiar for you. You had the support network, family, friends, whatever, you had it there. You speak the language. It's there. Sometimes it's okay to go back, or to say, you know what, this didn't work for me. Let me find a different route. Let me find a different way. And we don't always have to wait for that panic attack or that anxiety to set in. It's okay to in your case, go back home and find a way to do it. So I just wanted to bring that up because, thank you for sharing that, because I think it's helped our listeners to realize it's okay. Yes, we've had this experience, didn't work out the way we wanted it to. We went back home, reevaluated, made a plan. In your case, was become your own helper and trained yourself so that you could help others in that situation. So with that, I would love you to just, I know you have shared, with having that needing to be perfect, needing to check the delivery guy, being there, because if you didn't see him arrive, you're not perfect, you're not good enough. But how did you go from that place of feeling like if you're not good enough to where you are today? And I know you've done some courses, and I know that you've done trainings, but there's that first step, and you were looking for somebody to help you, but there's even that step before that. Is what is it that actually got you to say, now I need to look for somebody, now I need to help myself? Because there's almost that crossroads that we're at. And I know I've had a couple of those, and I know Lenka's had a couple of those, and our listeners, I'm sure, are either at it or had a couple of them. There's that moment where you can just keep going on the road that you're on, or it's okay, something needs to change, I need to, in your case, find somebody to help me. But what is it that was that trigger, that almost that moment that said, I've had enough now? What can I do to change it? I'd love to know what that was for you.
So I think, thank you so much for that. I think the first thing is I had, all of a sudden, I had a lot of time because it was 2020 and the first lockdown was just around the corner. So I had a lot of time because I couldn't really dance. I couldn't leave the house. I was just there with myself and thinking a lot. And me thinking about like my next dance jobs already gave me anxiety, right? Because I just didn't want to put myself through something like that ever again. So I made a promise to myself, and a promise that I made to myself was to never, ever, ever let someone treat me that way again. The second promise I made to myself is to become my own biggest fan. And the third promise I made to myself is to forgive myself. Because in the end, and what I didn't share is that in the end, the signs were there, but I just couldn't see them because I was so excited, right? So all these things started to happen before I went there, like things with the contract, things about money, things with housing, like all these things happened. And I was like, no, I just need to push through, and I just need to push through. If I'm there, everything is gonna be okay. And now with the knowledge I have now, I know, okay, Gianine, be honest with yourself. Like, was that the universe saying, keep going, or was that the universe saying, maybe this is not for you? So I also started to listen to my intuition more, which is still a journey, because listening to your intuition sounds very easy, but it can be very hard. Like, I'm completely honest about that. But like those three little things for me were the first step, because I knew something needed to change, but I didn't know what until I found those three.
And you very much have pointed out that you shared something, is the signs were there, and we don't listen to them. I put my hand up to that as well. The amount of times I've not listened to my gut, listened to my instinct, pushed through, because you should. There's our favorite word, Lenka, the shoulds. You should, and we start shoulding all over ourselves. Or, as in your case, the excitement of, oh, I'm going to have this new opportunity, this new experience in a new country, and let me go. And you just plow through. And we are our best teachers. We know what is good for us, what we're wanting, what direction to go into, and we don't listen to ourselves. And this is, as you said, was very valuable lessons to know is we know what we need more than anybody else knows what we need, including doctors, including parents, including teachers. We know what we need. We don't always listen to ourselves. And I love these promises that you made to yourself, and taking that opportunity of the lockdown, and looking within yourself, and as you said, doing a lot of thinking, and realizing, okay, now what? And I love these promises that you made, and this conscious effort to listen to yourself, and to start to follow your instinct, your gut, your heart, your spirit, whatever it is, and following that. And on that, do you have some nice tips on, for people who are on that journey? Because it's not easy to put your brain out of action and listen to your gut, essentially. That little brain that's in the gut, is our brains, and especially mine, is on overdrive constantly, and it will override anything. It will even override when I know that the stove is hot. It's like, yeah, but let me just check it. Let me just taste it. Let me touch it to see. It's the only way that I've learned. So what tips can you give for our listeners who are learning to follow their gut, to listen to themselves, and to follow their truth?
I think that's such a great question. I think the first thing that I would say is that we really notice it when we don't listen to our gut. We really notice it when we ignore the signs, right? But how often did we listen, and did it work out? Like, often, that is even more than the times that it didn't work out, that we ignored. But because it feels so natural then, and it feels so good then, because we listened to our gut and our mind was not like that active with it, we don't really notice it. So we're actually pretty good in like listening to our intuition, and like doing that. And I would say drop into the body. Like, movement is medicine if we dance, but it's also movement if we move our body. So it doesn't really matter what it is. It doesn't have to be dance. It doesn't have to be embodiment. It doesn't have to be all those things. It can just be a walk in nature. Like, sometimes that does a lot, right? Because we as humans are also nature. So just a walk in nature is actually helping you to make a decision, because you're using that energy as well. So I would say, like, I am a Libra. And if there are people that are into human design, I also have a triple split definition. So that means that making decisions for me is like not easy, not easy at all, right? But I really had to like deal with that, but also find my own way of doing that. And for me, that's really dropping into the body, but it's also really listening to myself. And when I want to do something, but I'm scared to do something, I always ask myself, if I do this or if I don't do this, is someone gonna die? It sounds very harsh, right? But if there's fear involved, and let's say that I can't sing, I'm tone deaf, but let's say that I want to perform for like 100 people singing, right? If I do it, is someone gonna die? Probably they won't love it, right? But like, no one is gonna die if I sing. So that also makes it a bit lighter for myself, because then I get to laugh with it. Like, I don't believe in bad decisions. I believe the only bad decisions that you can make is making no decision at all, because then it's made for you. So, and if you did make a bad decision, or a decision that doesn't have the outcome that you want to have, then forgive yourself for it. I guess that.
And that is, it's learning. I mean, as you said, there's no bad decisions. It's learning. It's like there's no failure. It's lessons. And this is what we need, is the lessons. And you talk about movement. Oh, you're a dancer, so movement is very much part of your life. So my question to you is, music or no music? Now, if I know going for a walk in nature, it's nice to just listen to the sounds. But let's say you're at home and you're just wanting to move. Would you recommend music or no music, or are you a little bit of both? I'd love to know. Just and if it is music, what music do you like to dance to? What music do you like to move to?
I think this might be an unfair question just because I'm a dancer. But I would definitely say music. But I think also because it is my job, so not the dance thing, but like the movement medicine thing, I think I would still say music, but I would choose your music very consciously. So it really depends on what you want to, I don't like to say get out of, but like what you want to get out of, like the thing you're going to do, right? So for example, if I feel like I feel very numb because I haven't cried and something bad happened, but I'm still in like denial or something, I would put like my worst guilty pleasure sad sobby song. Um because that helps. In the end, it helps with releasing the emotion, right? I wouldn't play like Happy from Pharrell, for example. I wouldn't. So if you choose your music consciously with the thing that you actually want to achieve by doing it, then I would say music.
I love that because I love music. But if we look back at different cultures and the often dance was with music, with drumming. The Native Indians with the drumming. In Africa, you have the singing, you have the different sort of drum, not necessarily drums, but just the hitting a stick on an empty dried fruit makes that a noise. And there's a very, I say famous, but it's very famous in South Africa, and it's a miners dance. It's called the gumboot dance, and it's all the miners in South Africa create this dance, and it is literally having a rhythm, creating rhythm, hitting the side of your gumboots. And gumboots is like Wellington boots, but they're bigger for the mines. But the sounds that comes from it, with the stamping and everybody hitting it. So when you look at dance, whether it's the Irish dancing, or it's the waltz, or it's Latin tango, or it's the Native Indians dancing, or it's the Africans from African nations going to, your war dances, your love dances, you're getting married, there's always some form of music involved, whether it's a panpipe, whether it's whistling through a reed, whether it's creating drum noises through whatever instruments or things you can bang on. And I think, for me personally, I think music is very powerful. And as you said, it's finding the right music. If you know that you're trying to create this, shift this numbness that you have, that's what you mentioned, and shift that numbness, and to bring something that will help you to shift it. So yes, a happy song is not necessarily going to do it, but that sad soppy song, that's most probably going to just help you to shift that. And your movements are most probably going to be different than if you're doing essentially a happy dance to a happy music because you're celebrating something, or you're just feeling joyful or in that moment. And the for me personally, I would go for music. And I'm not a dancer. I love dancing, but I'm not a dancer as such. And I can sit and watch dancing videos, on and on, because I think dancing and the body is just such a beautiful thing. Whether it is the gumboot dancing, whether it's Irish dancing, whether it's ballet, whatever dance it is, you can almost see the language of what people are speaking. So I'm with you. I go with music. I don't know if Lenka is a non-music or a music.
Well, definitely music. Music is adding different layer to the expression. But as you were talking, I was thinking that there is a different impact of dance and movement, whether we do it alone and we do it by ourselves when no one's watching, whether we do it in a couple and we do it like together, or whether we do it in a group. So I would love to chat with you a little bit about the different dynamics and the different impact that movement can have based on if we're alone and if we're allowing ourselves just to move by ourselves, or if we're in a group of people and there might be someone watching, and what different challenges and beautiful results it can bring when we would do these practices of moving our bodies with other people.
I absolutely love this question because I also host like in-person group events. And what is so beautiful to see is that in the beginning, everyone is pretty uncomfortable. Like, honestly, they come in, they're a bit nervous, they're not really sure what to expect. And I think what the beauty is that if you have a safe space, it really doesn't matter. And that's why I always say, and if you are someone who wants to do like more movement and everything, say it to yourself as well. Like, I always say to the people that come, like, it doesn't matter what you do. No one is gonna think anything because we're all doing the same thing. We're all going through the same process, right? And if someone is thinking about it, then 2 seconds later, that person is already forgotten it as well. So there's no one there to ever judge you. So why should you judge yourself that hard? And I think that's the biggest part, because we make it more scary because there are other people there as well. But the only people that's really judging you is you. No one else is doing that because everyone is too busy with themselves, right? So they don't have time to watch you and do you, and like no time at all. And I think it has a lot of beauty in it, because I have people that I work with one-on-one, and then they are a bit more reserved because it is one-on-one, so there's only one eye. I have people that actually work better in a group because it feels better, because the energy is more high, there's more energy to take from. So it really depends per person, actually, what you prefer.
And I would say per circumstance, because
Yeah.
yeah, as you say, working with someone one-on-one, it can be very intense because all attention is on you. And it's so hard possibly to get out of your head to be like, I'm the one being watched. Where if there is a group of people, there is a chance that the attention is not on me all the time. That's the same when you go to a gym or to yoga class. It's very different if you go to a group thing, or if you work one-on-one with a teacher, you get different results and you would go there for different reasons. Because if you go to a group class, you can hide in the group. You get the, as you said, the heightened energy of the group. We often, like when I go to gym, we laugh, it's hilarious, it's all. Yes, you get the teacher paying attention to you and correcting you and guiding you, but it's not like all attention is on you. But sometimes you want the full attention, just me, and figuring out exactly me and not having anyone else as a distractor. You want to be the sole focus of the person. And then obviously we then have the solo practice where we just experiment and explore and there just let it go and let it be. And I think as we talk about this, the more we obviously observe other people and think about other people, we're taking ourselves away from the present moment, from being connected to our bodies. And a big part of movement is to reconnect with our bodies, really allow ourselves to feel what we feel and be more in tune. And it then helps with things like intuition and be able to listen to our gut, because we really know that, oh, this feeling here often tells me that, what I'm feeling is right. This feeling here is giving me a sense of something's wrong. This feeling here means whatever we realize that it means. But one thing we were talking about before that kept kind of popping up here and there, it's the forgiveness. It's the using movement and reclaiming your power as a way to forgive ourselves, others, but most ourselves. Could you touch on a little bit of what is your experience with forgiving? Like, what were you thinking about? Oh, I need to forgive myself for this and this and this. And how then you discover that movement can really help with that?
That's a good question. I think there are so many misconceptions about forgiveness. And it's also a word that is just thrown out there a lot. And often we think that we forgive, but actually we don't. And the interesting thing is, especially when it's connected to someone else, we think we forgive that person for them. Or same as someone, if someone does something to you, right? We need forgiveness, because if we forgive, then we feel better, right? But you never need someone else's forgiveness. You never need it, right? All it's gonna do, it's like, oh yeah, confirmation. Yeah, the person is very sorry. Okay, and then, like, what does it actually help? But then when you start to forgive yourself, you start to realize, oh yeah, but I don't have to be like such a bully to myself anymore. I don't have to judge myself that bad anymore. But also it shows you that you can be free, because as long as you don't forgive yourself, there's pumped up anger and resentment there. And if there's anger and resentment there, there's no forgiveness. And when there's no forgiveness, all that energy is in your body. So that's why it is so important to forgive, because it has emotions connected to it. And the emotions are not helping you. It's the same, like it brings you back to the teeth. With brushing your teeth, right? So I think that is why, to me, forgiveness is such an important part, because forgiveness in the end also makes you feel more safe. Because if you are constantly judging yourself, you also don't feel safe.
And that's a very nice way that you've put it, is forgiving yourself is feeling safe. And there is so much judgment in the world. There's this constant need, or this perceived need, to be perfect. There's this judgment, and there's all that shoulding and everything else. And as you said, forgiveness is something that is one of these sort of popular words that gets thrown about. But what is forgiveness really? What does that really mean? And one of a story I was told years and years ago, and I can't remember it exactly, but when you are not forgiving and you sort of hold these grudges against others, it's you poisoning yourself. Whereas if you think you think you're poisoning the other person, but you're actually poisoning yourself. And when I heard that, I was like, yeah, that's right. Doesn't mean that I'm not still poisoning myself sometimes. I am. I mean, being a human, it's this journey that we're on, and I don't think we ever sort of get to that point where we are 100% forgiving, 100% everything else, but it's part of learning. But for me, that was really powerful lesson, is when we don't forgive, we are, as you said, we are holding on to this resentment, we hold on to the anger, we hold on to that judgment, we hold on to that guilt, we hold on to all these wonderful emotions that just can then cause these physical or mental ailments, as you said, the stiff neck, sore hips, whatever it is. It's this lack of being kind to ourselves. And that's, again, something that forgiveness does, is it helps us to be kind to ourselves when we forgive ourselves. But also it's a way to acknowledge that we are human and we are perfect the way we are right now, and we are okay, and we are worthy, and we are everything else. And I love how you really take that on board, and you really honor that forgiveness, because it can be hard sometimes, or maybe it's just me who finds it hard, but it is something that to really look into. So talking about forgiveness and your what you do with either for yourself or your clients, is what would you do using dance or movement to help somebody, to help them to start their journey for self-forgiveness? Because all very well to think, oh yes, I forgive myself, but it's more to it than that. So can you maybe just share a little bit of what you will do when you know that you want to forgive yourself on something, is there a movement that you do, or is there a sort of some, and I know you're a professional dancer and that's fine, but but it's just what movement would you do to help yourself to forgive?
I think that depends on the situation. And before I answer that question, I also want to say that, like, especially when forgiveness is connected to someone else, like, it is literally giving your power away to that person by not forgiving. Because by not forgiving, you're still holding the grudges. So you're literally giving that person the power in your life, right? You're living from the past, and that's not a healthy place to live from. But in terms of movement, I would say it really, really, really depends on the situation. It really does depend on the situation, like what there needs to be forgiveness for. But I would say more than just moving, I would still, I would first actually just do a little process. I would just close my eyes and then visualize the person, or just me, or like whoever it is that I want to forgive. I would visualize that and then slowly reaching my hand out. That is something that sounds so super duper simple, but something that really, really works, right? Because it is just something about like reaching your hand out. Like, because if there's still a lot of anger and resentment there, there's no way you would reach your hand out. There's no way. And if you don't see, if you're a person, because not everyone can see that is during a visualization, I would say, can you feel it? Like, can you feel like you actually doing that and you're not getting angry? Because if thinking about that person or thinking about that situation still makes you angry, I would do some anger embodiment. So for example, let's say that Lenka and I had a huge fight. Sorry, Lenka. Let's say that Lenka and I had a huge fight, and she said some horrible things and I said some horrible things, and then we just like ignored each other for months. Let's say something like that happened, right? And if I think about the situation, am I still angry? Then I know that I can actually use that thought and start to move with that. And if I then think about the situation, I'm still angry, or is it like, oh yeah, it happened, like it's okay, it's fine. And if there's still a tiny bit of anger left, that's also perfectly fine. Because it's not about like getting the 0% anger. Because anger, and I really want to like say this, anger is a healthy emotion to feel. It's not a bad emotion to feel. It's a really good emotion to feel. But old anger, that is bad for your body. So I would say do that. Think about the situation, feel the situation, and see if you can or reach your hand or be neutral about it. And maybe there's some sadness there instead. That's also possible. Then maybe write a letter. You don't have to send it or give it, but write a letter and see what happens for yourself.
And such simple tools or simple ideas, and that is one thing that I love from, you know, our guests. It's what they share is simple, because I think we overcomplicate things. It's got to be this massive complicated process, and yet just reach out your hand. I mean, how easy is that, and how simple is that? But yes, as you said, it's, if it's still there, there's still that resentment, you're not going to reach out your hand. And so that is something that's really worth, can I reach out my hand, how am I feeling, and what other movements do I need to do to be able to then get to that place where I can reach out my hand and visualize. I don't know, as you were talking about it, I was visualizing, you know, reaching out to somebody, or even myself, and, you know, it's almost like giving that handshake, or that something, it's welcome, or we are friends, or whatever it is. That sort of came to my head when you were talking about it. So thank you for that. That is a really nice way for people to almost start a process, or just start to feel what it is. And then of course is there that anger or that sadness, and then working on that, through dancing, through movement, through going for a walk, or maybe you need to just smash a plate on the floor. I mean, the Greeks knew how to deal with anger, just go and smash some cutlery on the floor and crockery, not cutlery, crockery, and see what happens. But make it the old ones that you don't necessarily want to keep. But that can be fun. So thank you so much for those. I mean, this is a fantastic topic and we can talk for hours. And I appreciate that you've shared a lot and, you shared your time, your energy. But before you go, one thing that we do love, because Lenk and I, we like to have more. We always believe that there's always that gold nugget that is there. Is there something that you want to share with us? We haven't asked. Is there a tip or some top tips that you can share? Or is there a last thought that you feel I need to get this out? Whatever it is, this is your space for that little last nugget that we can get out of you.
I would say, and this actually has been on my mind. This actually has been on my mind a lot lately because I'm also like now in the creation of creating a solo about trauma and forgiveness and all those things, right? And one thing that process of like creating that really made me realize like I already knew how important the body is and listening to the body, and the body always knows, right? But it really opened myself up to start to listen to the whispers of the body before it has to scream and not wait until it's screaming. So it's a little, maybe you need to hear it like 3 more times and just rewind and listen to it again, but like really start to listen to the whispers of the body, because in the end there's no need to have it screaming at you. Like if your mom was calling you when you were a little kid, like you better listen the first time and not if she had to scream your name like 10 times, right? Because then there was a punishment. So I would say do that also with your body.
The whispers, start to listen to the whispers of the body. I love that. It just sounds so beautiful because the whispers are there. We always wait until the headache is really thumping or the hips are really aching, but there have been those whispers. So thank you for that. That is a lovely gold nugget that we have to listen to the whispers of the body. Now, if our listeners want to come into your circle, they want to connect with you, they're interested in what you're doing, they want to learn more about movement and movement as medicine and everything else, how can people connect with you?
Yeah, I have a website and everything that I sent to you guys, so I'm guessing it's going to be in the show notes as well. I would say definitely keep an eye on my Instagram because I create a lot of videos with little tips and it's just free for you to watch. I actually also, because I'm such a big fan about forgiveness, I also did a free masterclass, which is called Reclaiming Forgiveness. There I actually also take you to a little process, which is a bit deeper than I talked about here, which might be good. And I just launched my signature program, which is obviously called Reclaim Your Power. But you can find that all through my Instagram. I think that's the best way to connect.
And yeah, the links will be on the show notes. But for those who are listening and they don't want to go to the show notes, what is your Instagram called?
It's movement.medicine_.
Thank you for that, because sometimes you just get people just want to be typing that in and not looking at anything. So thank you for that. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us today, sharing your experiences and helping us or reminding us about self-forgiveness and forgiving and movement. And yes, it's all very well, yes, we need to move, but it's sometimes just not necessarily a habit or something we'll think about. It's just like, yeah, no, I should do this, I should do that. So thank you so much for sharing with us and helping or guiding us or reminding us, whichever one it is, but just being here and sharing your energy. And for our listeners, what have you got from today? What has inspired you about movement? Is it bringing more music into your life and moving to the music, or is it just moving for the sake of moving and finding ways that you can start to hear the whispers of your body? Or is forgiveness something that you find that you need to be working on, or you've really mastered forgiveness? We'd love to know what it is that you are looking for, finding, have experienced, or even have mastered. And we'd love to know your thoughts on what you feel about music, movement, dance. And it doesn't have to be professional, it doesn't have to be brilliant. Dancing or movement is dance. So there we go, we all dance on a daily basis. Until next time, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
If you enjoyed listening to our conversation, please share it with your friends and colleagues, and don't forget to subscribe. We would love it if you could give us a 5-star rating and write a short review.